Hello, David Paul here. What am I going to make this video about? Well, I just thought maybe I should do a video of this because I'm in Legazpi Airport and we're about to fly down to Cebu, and then after that we've got a long wait at Cebu, around about 4 hours, and then we go down to Davao and then stay a night in a hotel because the boat to Talikod Island is not available till 12 o'clock tomorrow. So we'll get in Davao about 11 p.m. and then we go see Talikod. So the next video I make will be about my arrival at Talikod and looking at Scotland and various things. Everything's going great, really more great than I could have ever expected. You know, it's going fabulous. I met the 4 kids, they're adorable, and the whole setup and the whole family and Christina and everybody, they're all adorable. So now I have to change plans on this, change direction on this, and
good afternoon, under group 4 by
consider what I'm going to do next. Well, the plan is that we're going to continue with the project on Talikod and get that running as a resort, and renting it out and making some money off it, which will be a small top-up to my income, which will be needed to get the kids over, because I have a lot of people to move in one lump. So I've got basic income requirements. I stand short of 3,800 pounds short on the income requirement for Portugal for the D7 visa. Not a big deal, because that's something I can fix with about 1 month of work. I had to have a long think about this, but I've realised that, you know, teaching is in my blood, and I don't really. I'm enjoying myself retired, and I'm doing my projects and so on. But to be honest, I still like to do a bit of teaching. So that's kind of fortunate, because I'm going to need to do a bit of teaching to up my income. So that a couple of months of work will fulfill that income requirement, and then I can start to work in the UK and live in Portugal and mix the two together. So,
Mr. Gabriel Ponon, if you are around, can you board through gate number 8 once again? Final call for boarding, final call for boarding. For the last departing guest bound for Manila on flight 5 gate 324, to guest Mr. Wilmark Lagarde. Mr. Wilmark Lagarde.
While he's chatting away, I'll give you a view of the
Mr. Gabriel Ponon, if you are around, can you board
of the mountains.
Thank you.
It's a very beautiful place here. Now, what you all won't know is that this is what you call a Tagalog area. They speak Tagalog here, which is the national, not entirely the national language, but almost. And it's the one I speak. So for me, this place is like so easy peasy. It's just like another part of London or something. Quite odd, you know, like being in Alpert and in London, or not even that foreign actually. More like it feels more like being back in my home town of South Shields, where I came from. So the difference I notice here is that the people are, well, it's hard to pick up on. They're very reserved and I would say genteel. You know, they're gentle and they're nice, and you know, they speak well, and there's nobody offhand or gruff with you at all, and it's just a very, very genteel sort of place to live. So anybody who's looking at living here, you know, from abroad, who has a woman over here, you know, that they're considering contacting and being friends with and maybe having a relationship with, I would say go for it. It's a good place. And I don't know, but I would imagine land is fairly cheap because it's not heavily populated. Around the Davao area, I think it's the biggest city in land area size in the world. So it's a bit more expensive there. And the land is, as I've said in a couple of videos before this, it's alive, you know, it's so verdant, you know, so bright. So anyway, I have been, I think I mentioned previously, doing biohacking, and when I did that video on avoiding sugar, I'm still avoiding sugar, and I did the video and I looked at the person looking back at me and my God, I look so healthy and well, you know. So that's just like one of the most basic things you can do with this biohacking. But I just went to the bathroom to brush my teeth, the toilets here, brush my teeth, and to have a little bit of a shave because I missed some bits. And I looked in the mirror and I thought, oh my God, you look well, you know, you look really good, and not as old as your actual age. So it seems that I'm being successful at what they call winding back your biological age, rather than your chronological age is just a factor of life. It's very odd this. I seem to be looking sideways on the camera. It's where the camera is. That's what I got to do. I got to look at that little spot there. It looked like I'm not speaking to the camera. So, this biohacking, I'm going to be doing more of that in the UK and seeing how far this can go. But I think I made some discoveries here. It seems to me that the human body is not intended to go old and die. It's not programmed to do that. That's not the project it's working on. The project it's working on is to sustain itself, because this is a bit disparate thinking, but typical of me. There was a thing called the Tambora event. What happened is all the human beings in the world were killed off, leaving only about 1,000, 1,200 individuals left. And we know this from genetics, because everybody in the world is basically genetically almost identical. The fact that a guy's black and you're not black is just a trivial thing genetically. You know, there's more diversity in pretty much anything you can think of than human beings, because we're all descended from these 1,000 to 1,200 individuals. I just realised if you hold the camera close to, you get a big fat head. Anyway, I digress. So it would make sense to me that rapidly in that situation, that gene pool, the priority, if you can think it's like dogs or something, where you're trying to breed a dog, you can rapidly change the nature of, say, a creature like a wolf and make all these different types of dogs, which they're all evolved from.
Thank you.
So basically, nature has imposed one little thing upon us at that event, which is like survive, because all the other hominids, this, that, or the other variety, failed for one reason or another, and maybe we just were slightly smarter, or we're living in a valley which is slightly better than everybody else, and we survived. So the imperative then would be to just stay alive, cooperate together, don't fight. I mean, you don't want to have a fight amongst 1,000 individuals. And early civilizations of the world, the very earliest cities, show evidence of not having conflict. War didn't exist. So it seems that from that, the ideal thing to do would be to keep all the individuals alive and allow them to you know, prosper and fill the earth and repopulate it again, and only die if something gets you. That's something being like, well, that would be post-saber-tooth tiger, but a predator, or, you know, falling off a cliff or tripping up and breaking a leg and not being able to fix it, that kind of thing, an accident, but not actually, but you would actually have, if provided with the right materials, you'd have the capacity to repair yourself. So what would those materials be? Well, I've been looking into the carnivore diet and doing it. In my case, reducing carbohydrates, eliminating sugar, reducing carbohydrates, and trying to increase the amount of meat that I'm eating, particularly ruminant animals, but they're difficult to come by in the Philippines. I've had a bit of beef here. I'll try and get some beef when we get down to Davao, but you have available, you've got goats, so they're not too bad. So I've eaten some calderita, which is like goat curry. It's nice. It's a very mild goat curry. So the upshot of it all is that I feel mentally really clear. I don't feel anxious about pretty much at all. No, just, you know, I've felt anxious the last couple of days about this project of getting down to Davao, because I've never done this run before, and we're running low on funds, and if we don't get there, then we're going to have to turn back, go to the house. We're going to be battened down for a while until I save up the fare again if something went wrong. So these things concern me, but it's just kind of regular concern, nowhere near as anxious as I used to get over things. But I'm not actually backed into a corner in any way, shape or form like I used to be. Like if you watch all my cabin videos, you would see how life was difficult then. And towards the end, when I get to the point where I'm leaving the cabin to come here, life is starting to go on to easy street. So it's hard. I still think on top of all of that I am feeling less anxious about stuff. So that's being caused by the increased consumption of the meat. Lots of components in that, like choline and whatever, carnitine. Losing weight, I'm a lot slimmer than before, and the reason for that is the lack of the carbohydrates. The body doesn't need to store them as fat. And I'm following a guy called Dr. Chaffee, and he is a committed 100% carnivore. He only eats meat, basically what you call the lion diet. And he looks in really good shape. And so I'm watching what he has to say. And one of the things that he mentioned, these little iconic things that pop up here and there, is that there's a system called autophagy. I'm not going to start a whole health channel here, but where you kill and destroy old dead cells. They're just like limping along. They call them zombie cells. They're just managing to stay alive, and they're like a pollutant in your body. They're causing all kinds of problems, potentially even cancer, if you don't get rid of them. Well, what the body does, is it clears them all up. But here's the twist in the tale. As Chaffee mentioned, he said that autophagy does not take place in an environment of high insulin. High insulin, why would you have that? Well, if you're consuming carbohydrates, you have to increase your insulin level in order to dispose of the risen blood sugar level. Your blood sugar level has been spiked, even if it's just slightly. You have to deal with that by secreting insulin and putting the sugar into cells or whatever you got to do with it, or making fat, which is what you do. The high insulin is causing people to be overweight. Back in the day, they'd advocate low-fat, high carbohydrate diet, and it was actually the worst idea ever. doctors are like pretending they never said that. Ooh, did I really say that? And polyunsaturated fats and all this stuff. They're not admitting that it was all the wrong advice. So the consequence of my cutting down on the carbohydrates, and I'm going to do it more, is that the autophagy is kicked in, and old dead cells in my body are being destroyed and eliminated. So going back to that subject of what I was talking about, this capacity of the human body to repair itself. Well, here's another twist. Another video I watched, it said, how can neurons live for 90 years? Neurons, in other words, your brain. So you can be born and you can live to be 90 and you can be as clear as a bell and fall over because you had a heart attack, and clear as a bell till the day you drop dead. I know. Oh, so Siga, she's just gone. See, she doesn't want to be on camera, which is a shame because she looks a lot better than me. She's the pretty one of the family, my God. So I can talk about her now that she's not here. So she's adorable, absolutely adorable. When I first saw her, I thought, I'm hello. That's what I said, meaning the best. And she's just such a lovely. The family. I'm trying to allude to that point in the video before, but she's just absolutely adorable. And if this goes south, it's got nothing to do with me, because I'm here. I turned up for the job. You want a father for your kids? Yeah, I'll be the dad. Love them. The kids are beautiful. Christ, they're beautiful kids, you know, and they're like nice. They're just nice. And you tell them to do something, and they just do it. You know, it's so no bitching on. I mean, the worst thing, the second oldest daughter is like Martina. She likes eating apples, and she's walking around with loads of apples in her hands. And I said, well, I've got to curtail the apple consumption, but that's about all you can say. She eats too many apples, otherwise she's going to get the shits, you know. So I don't buy so many apples. They do fight over the apples. It's the only thing, fighting over apples. I think I can live with that. Anyway, let's get back to the subject. The oddity is that, remember, I'm 70, you know. Yeah, I was talking about insulin, yeah. So in the presence of this insulin, autophagy does not occur. So I've been reducing my insulin as a consequence, a natural consequence of cutting the carbohydrates. I'm really gonna, when I get back to the UK, I'm really gonna push this. But I'm noticing, I'm looking in the mirror, and I don't feel like there's a younger looking person looking back. If you go through my videos of me in the cabin, there are times when I look really rough, and there are times when I look pretty good. And we gotta stop doing the rough time, because that's an indication of stress and poor nutrition. So we don't want to be there. We need to consolidate on what we got and be more healthy and so on. So what's happening is the autophagy's kicked in, hasn't it? In the 6 months I've been here, and well, in fact, it was happening when I made the avoiding sugar video, and it's continuing to go on. So you've got to bear in mind now that this 70-year-old person doing this, although I have been doing it since I was 68, this person has got damage, i.e. aging, which has occurred previously, and possibly due to the due to the bad nutrition advice that we received, that cholesterol was bad for you, don't eat eggs, don't eat too much red meat, don't do this, don't do that. And they were telling us not to do all the things which are actually good for us. This cholesterol idea is nonsense. That's another story. Cholesterol is essential in the body, and if you had zero cholesterol, you'd drop dead instantly. So somebody said that the complaining about high cholesterol was rather like attending a fire scene, maybe as a news reporter. You turn up and you say, every time I go to these bloody fires, there are these red things, you know, here, these red trucks. I know what it is. It's the red trucks that cause the fire engines, that cause these fires. That's what it is, because they're always there when there's a fire. So you're blaming the actual agency of the agent of repair, you know, which is the fire truck putting the fire out, or the cholesterol which is there because of some underlying problem. Address the underlying problem, not try and put the cholesterol down, which is the fire engine. So anyway, that's that. And that process goes on. So how much can one repair this system? And I think possibly, well, a long time. Talking like 150 years of life expectancy, maybe 200, maybe 300. And the reason I say that is because of this video about the neurons. It makes sense, no matter what, for evolution in terms of human biology, to preserve the brain. So everybody's, it used to always worry me years ago, you know, like I didn't want to get Alzheimer's and dementia and this, that and the other, and they'd say it was on the increase and it's going crazy now. Oh, that's because people are living longer, blah 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 blah. It's not. It's because of the damn sugar and the inflammatory seed oils and all sorts. Robert Kennedy Jr. is now going to tackle this issue in America. So anyway, this ability of the brain to protect neurons, and it wants to look after them, and it wants to look after this thing called a brain to ensure the survival of this organism and also the survival of others. Because if you're a key, I mean, one of the things mentioned in this mass extinction event was that if some of the elders of the tribe of certain groups had been killed, that knowledge was lost, and that knowledge was essential for their survival, and so they failed. And then the one that didn't fail was us, was our ancestors. So it's important to protect the brains of everyone and keep them going. So I think on that basis that the brain, if you give it the right stuff that it wants, will protect itself and will repair itself. Now, I think somebody got the Nobel Prize for this, but when I was a kid, I clearly remembered biology classes. They used to tell you that the brain cannot be repaired. Once you grow up, the brain doesn't grow, doesn't do anything, and it's downhill from then on. So you've got this perfectly good functioning brain, you know, like 20-year-old, and then it starts to die cell by cell till you're old, and then you're a wreck, and then you're doolally and slavering and whatnot. And that is not the case, because what they discovered was a thing called neurogenesis, and it's an interesting thing. Is I have a theory about how this works, about how this protects the entire brain. If you imagine you're in a garden, and in a distant part of the garden there are a bunch of daisies you planted in a border there, and you want to water those daisies. Well, there's a signal goes out to the central, like the gardener, what is the signal? The daisies are wilting. You say, oh, the gardener says, well, oh my God, my daisies are dying because they need water. Well, what you can do, which would be the sensible thing to do, would be to get a watering can, run across the daisies and pour the water on, and then they'd come back to life and everything would be fine. So let us imagine there's a need for more data storage or more complexity or learning that takes place in the brain. For example, you could be learning a new skill, or learning a language, or say studying mathematics, and you look at it and you think, God, I just can't do this. I mean, I can think of a million things I could not do absolutely when I started, which are just like breathing now. So what the brain does is a signal goes back to central HQ, the hypothalamus, saying we're learning something, we need more brain power here, and the brain generates stem cells which it sends out. But going back to the daisy analogy, the wrong way to water the daisies would be to just turn on a sprinkler and spatter water all over the place and soak everything in order to get some water to these daisies. So you're creating a deluge to get the water to the daisies. But in the brain kind of does it like that. It sends out the stem cells, and en route, if there's a need for repair, what's going on is, this is my theory, so you know, if there's any neuroscientists out there got a gripe about it, please put your comments in. Well, on the way there, this abundance of stem cells will be utilized by other parts. So in other words, it has a regenerative effect on the whole show. So now you're starting to learn French, but at the same time the rest of the brain is deriving great benefits from this. Now, it's said that learning a language is one of the key things for offsetting dementia and stuff. In other words, basically just use your brain, learn something, it doesn't matter what it is, and it's repairing it. So the brain has this capacity to continue and repair, which makes sense, so that you don't lose this valuable individual of your tribe who is becoming more valuable by the day, by all of the things that he knows or she knows that could be helpful to the tribe's survival. And that is how I think that works. So it's essential to start providing all of the nutrients that it's all going to need. I'll make a video about what I'm doing. They call it your stack, you know, what's in your stack. But my ideas about it are a lot more simple, and I've evolved a system that's more simple than everybody else. Because I think what we're seeing now in the media now is that people are talking about, oh, this thing is great. It's a wonderful antioxidant. Eat raspberries, they're great antioxidants. Eat koji berries. Eat this. Eat chia seeds. So you're sticking all these in, and you've got this diet that's got them all packed in. And what you're kind of doing with a lot of them is they're all repeating the same job that the other guy's doing. So you get an initial benefit with maybe one or two of them, and then the rest is not really necessary. But the way I'm coming around to thinking on this now is that instead of doing what I call mitigating things, so in other words, I'm taking mega doses of vitamin C in order to mitigate the effects of other stuff in my life. What you need to be doing is not causing the problem in the first place. So you're trying to reduce your cholesterol level, if that's what you think you need to do, instead of addressing the reason why your body is operating at a higher level of cholesterol. So in other words, why are the fire appliances there? What's going on? Well, it's because they're arsonists setting fire or something like that. Find out why that's needed and deal with that, rather than just trying to mitigate the problem which you've already created yourself. I mean, a good comparison would be Portugal. We have loads and loads of forest fires in the summer, and they go around and they just put the forest fires out, and they're running around like crazy putting forest fires out, guys getting killed, risking their lives. Instead of asking the fundamental question, how can we actually avoid the forest fire in the first place? So put more and more effort into firefighting? No, let's not have the fires. In other words, don't have all those damned eucalyptus trees. And the same applies to health, to fixing the body. So I have to try and talk Christina round to this eliminating sugar business, and slowly get rid of the sugar, sneakily take away the sugar from the kids, which I'm doing just by buying them more apples. So enjoy your manzanas, Martina. Well, that's about it anyway. So Jesus be with you.